July 28, 1944, London, England. Prime Minister Winston Churchill sits quietly in his office, eyes fixed on the latest battle reports from the Normandy front. The D-Day invasion began 7 weeks ago. Allied forces have landed on French soil, yet their progress is far slower than expected. According to these reports, British and Canadian units under Field Marshal Bernard Montgomery have been struggling to seize the city of Caen since June 6. Even after 7 weeks, Caen remains unconquered. German troops have entrenched themselves in formidable defensive positions, bringing Montgomery's advance to a near standstill. Frustration fills Churchill's mind. The diary of Field Marshal Alan Brooke, Chief of the Imperial General Staff and Churchill's trusted advisor, records reflections on this sluggish pace. Churchill begins to doubt why Montgomery's campaign is so hesitant. However, various documented sources reveal Montgomery's reasoning for the delay. He places the blame on the Americans. Montgomery asserts that failures on other American fronts are impeding his own advance. He criticizes American generals for lacking understanding of modern warfare and suggests British forces could move more swiftly if not held back by their American allies. Churchill faces a delicate dilemma. He must navigate this with caution. Montgomery is Britain's most celebrated general, but Churchill understands that Britain's survival depends heavily on American support. According to documented accounts, the Prime Minister grows increasingly skeptical of Montgomery's excuses. This story reveals what Churchill said when Montgomery blamed the Americans for his slow progress. How Montgomery's habit of scapegoating American forces sowed tension, and how Churchill balanced supporting his commander while preserving the vital Anglo-American alliance. Let us return to the Normandy situation to better grasp why Montgomery's slow advance became a critical concern. The Normandy invasion launched on June 6, 1944. Official military records confirm Allied forces successfully established beachheads along the French coast. General Dwight Eisenhower, Supreme Allied Commander, led the overall campaign, while Montgomery commanded all Allied ground forces during the initial phase. Operational plans called for rapid capture of key objectives. British and Canadian forces were tasked with taking Caen, a city about 10 miles inland from their beaches. American forces aimed to seize the port of Cherbourg and break into the French countryside. Yet, records show the progress lagged behind expectations. Caen, which Montgomery hoped to capture on D-Day or within days, remained under German control through June and into July. German defenders had fortified strong positions around Caen. Montgomery's slow progress there became a mounting worry. Various reports indicate Eisenhower was concerned. British and American media began questioning the stalled advance. Parliament and public pressure mounted on Churchill for explanations regarding the sluggish pace. Montgomery's response, documented in messages and statements, was to claim that his slow progress was part of a deliberate strategy. He explained he was drawing German armored divisions toward the British-Canadian sector around Caen, allowing American forces to break out elsewhere. This rationale holds some truth. German military records show most panzer divisions were indeed concentrated against British forces near Caen, yet many sources reveal Montgomery also blamed Americans for complicating his operations. In communications with superiors and British officers, he suggested American failures were hindering his efforts. Montgomery's criticisms of American forces during the Normandy campaign are well documented. According to Brooke's diary, in late June 1944, Montgomery told him that American forces were underperforming and causing problems for British operations. A June 27th message from Montgomery read, "The Americans have been unable to capture St. Lay. Bradley has failed to complete his tasks." He referred to General Omar Bradley's U.S. First Army, struggling through difficult bocage terrain filled with dense hedgerows that made offensive action extremely challenging. However, other accounts indicate Montgomery ignored the reality that German defenders were skillfully holding the bocage and that American troops were making steady, if slow, progress against fierce resistance. Montgomery also, according to documents, accused American generals of lacking proper tactical understanding. In messages preserved in British archives, he lectured on the importance of concentrating forces, implying that American commanders were scattered and uncoordinated. These criticisms reached American commanders. In his 1951 memoir, A Soldier's Story, Bradley acknowledged awareness of Montgomery's remarks, stating, "Montgomery claimed his slow progress at Caen was deliberate to draw German armor, while simultaneously criticizing American progress as inadequate. It seemed contradictory." General George Patton was even more blunt in his July 1944 diary entries. "Monty has sat in front of Caen for 6 weeks and now blames us for his failure to advance." This was typical British arrogance. Tensions climaxed in late July 1944. Military records show Montgomery launched Operation Goodwood from July 18th to 20th, a major armored offensive to break German lines near Caen. Goodwood, per British records, involved over 750 tanks attacking along a narrow front. Initial gains of several miles were made, but German defenses held firm. By July 20th, Montgomery's characterization of Goodwood shifted. Initially, before the operation, he suggested it might produce a major breakthrough. When it failed, he claimed it was only a limited attack designed to draw German forces. Churchill closely followed these events. Brooke's diary reveals growing frustration with the slow progress and Montgomery's explanations. On July 6th, Churchill told Brooke, "I am not satisfied with the situation. We seem stuck." Brooke defended Montgomery, explaining his strategy to draw German armor to the British sector. Yet he also privately worried about Montgomery's slow advance. Churchill's disappointment deepened after Goodwood. Believing Montgomery had overstated the operation's prospects, Churchill sent a message on July 21st to Field Marshal Jan Smuts, his close advisor, writing, "We have paid dearly in lives and material for this operation, which achieved little. I am not satisfied." When Montgomery began blaming American forces, Churchill, as recorded in Brooke's diary on July 26th, defended the Americans and questioned Montgomery's excuses. He said, "Blaming the Americans is not helpful and risks damaging the alliance. Montgomery must not make enemies of the Americans. We depend on them utterly." This underscored Churchill's priority, preserving the Anglo-American alliance. He also questioned whether Montgomery's slow, methodical approach was appropriate. Churchill favored aggressive action, aligning with commanders like Patton, who advanced rapidly. Brooke's late July diary entry quotes Churchill comparing Montgomery's slow progress unfavorably with Patton's swift advances in Sicily. Patton would not have sat in front of Caen for 6 weeks. The situation changed dramatically on July 25, 1944, when American forces launched Operation Cobra, a breakthrough offensive near St. Lay. Military records show Cobra succeeded spectacularly, breaking German lines and racing across France. Patton's Third Army, activated August 1st, surged forward at stunning speed, liberating vast territories. This American success made Montgomery's slow progress at Caen look even worse by comparison, and undermined his claim that American failures caused his problems. Montgomery tried to claim credit for the American breakout, arguing his operations drew German armor away from the American sector. There was some truth here. German panzer divisions were concentrated against British forces, easing pressure on Americans. However, American commanders resented Montgomery's attempts to take credit for their achievements. Bradley wrote that Montgomery was claiming success for what Americans had earned through skill and sacrifice. Churchill responded by publicly praising American achievements while managing Montgomery privately. On August 2nd, Churchill sent a congratulatory message to Eisenhower, commending the brilliant American advances and fighting spirit. This clearly showed Churchill's recognition of American accomplishments and refusal to accept Montgomery's attempts to diminish them. Privately, Churchill had frank talks with Brooke about Montgomery's habit of blaming others. Brooke's early August diary entry records Churchill demanding that Montgomery stop making excuses and produce results. Yet, Churchill avoided public criticism. In a speech to the House of Commons on August 2nd, Churchill stated, "Field Marshal Montgomery's operations have been conducted with great skill and have drawn the main weight of German armor to his front." This balanced public praise for Montgomery with private pressure to improve and cease blaming Americans. Churchill's delicate balancing act continued through August 1944. He praised American advances, defended Montgomery to Parliament, and privately urged Montgomery to stop criticizing American forces. Montgomery's pattern of blaming Americans persisted throughout the war. He later faulted Americans for supply shortages during Market Garden in September 1944 and the Battle of the Bulge. Each time, Churchill managed the situation, supporting Montgomery to maintain British morale while preventing damage to Anglo-American relations. Churchill's words when Montgomery blamed the Americans are well documented. Brooke's diary entry from July 26, 1944, records Churchill saying, "Montgomery must not make enemies of the Americans. We depend on them utterly." Churchill emphasized that blaming the Americans was unhelpful and could seriously harm the alliance. In late July, Churchill directly compared Montgomery's sluggishness to Patton's rapid advance, sending a clear message that a commander with Patton's aggressive spirit would not linger for 6 weeks outside Caen. On August 2nd, Churchill continued to express respect for American achievements by congratulating Eisenhower, praising brilliant progress and splendid fighting qualities of American forces. This underscored Churchill's high regard for American efforts, rejecting Montgomery's excuses and credit-grabbing. Brooke's diary also records Churchill's candid insistence that Montgomery must stop excuses and deliver tangible results. Still, the Prime Minister avoided public criticism to preserve the top general's dignity. Before Parliament, Churchill defended Montgomery, lauding his skillful operations that drew the main weight of German armor. This public endorsement preserved Montgomery's stature, while Churchill privately pressed for better performance and the cessation of blame shifting. Throughout the following months, Churchill maintained this delicate balance, praising American gains, protecting Montgomery before Parliament, and privately urging him to stop criticizing the Allies. Montgomery's blame of Americans became a persistent negative pattern. He accused them of logistical failures, the market garden setback, and difficulties during the Battle of the Bulge. Each time, Churchill had to skillfully manage the fallout, protecting British military morale and preventing fractures in the crucial alliance. The Normandy campaign ultimately succeeded. Military records show German forces in Normandy were encircled and destroyed in the Falaise Pocket in August 1944. Allied forces swept across France, liberating Paris on August 25. Yet, tensions over Montgomery's slow progress and tendency to blame Americans caused lasting damage. According to American commanders' memoirs, they never fully trusted Montgomery again. Churchill, while publicly supporting Montgomery, remained privately skeptical of his excuses. Churchill's response, when Montgomery blamed Americans, reveals a leader deeply aware of what truly mattered. The Anglo-American alliance was Britain's lifeline. No British general, however famous, could be allowed to weaken that bond by unfairly blaming American forces for his own shortcomings. Documents and diaries show Churchill valued the alliance above his general's reputation, recognized American contributions, even when Montgomery sought to downplay them, and understood that Britain's future depended on maintaining American goodwill. This video draws upon historical records, including Field Marshal Brooke's published diary, official military documents, Churchill's correspondence, Bradley's memoir, Patton's diary, parliamentary records, and other verified sources. All quotes are sourced from these reliable historical documents. Historical interpretations may differ among scholars. Viewers are encouraged to consult multiple sources for a comprehensive understanding of this pivotal military period. Thank you for watching and for keeping these stories alive.